Well, hello everyone. Thanks for attending. My name is Ryan Manook. I'm a solutions consultant here at FileMaker, and we have a fantastic webinar for you today. I'm joined by Chris Ippolite, president of iSolutions, who will provide some insight on FileMaker's impact in the entertainment industry, as well as demonstrate how his FileMaker custom apps have helped solve obstacles for his clients in Hollywood. But before we get started, let's spend the next minute or two covering a few brief housekeeping notes. Now, for the best experience, it is strongly recommended that you participate in this webinar with at least a broadband connection. So if you have any problems or require online assistance at any time, please contact Citrix Technical Support at 888-259-8414. Now, throughout today's presentation, you're going to have the opportunity to type in and ask questions, so let's talk briefly about how to do that. Just go to the control panel, click on the question section, enter your question, and click on send. Now, we'll try to answer as many as time allows at the end of our presentation, but remember, you don't need to wait until then to submit a question. So why would someone choose FileMaker when there are so many alternatives? Well, off-the-shelf applications and App Store apps are quick to find and install, but they may not meet all of your needs, and customization is quite difficult if at all possible. And then companies that hire a programmer to work with traditional programming tools, they can get a solution exactly as they want it, but you're typically looking at quite lengthy and costly project, and then just maintaining the software can be a huge expense as well. Now, FileMaker is a great, cost-effective alternative that provides you the tools to create better solutions, resulting in a better business workflow. And our customers have been leveraging FileMaker to great success. So Henry Schein Dental, the largest provider of healthcare products and services to medical, dental, and veterinary office-based practitioners, they use the FileMaker platform to equip hundreds of dental sales consultants with the right sales information at the right time and manage sales literature and events. Soris Mini is an award-winning children's clothing manufacturer who leverages FileMaker for real-time reporting, resulting in better coordination between the stores and management for smarter decision-making. And Goodweave International, founded by Nobel Peace Prize winner Kailash Satyarthi, manages fundraising, media outreach, and business contacts while consolidating data collection among 45 personnel in 3 countries. But today, let's focus on the entertainment industry. Let's focus on how some of your favorite shows and films are leveraging FileMaker. And to help guide us in that area, please allow me to introduce Chris Ippolite.
Hey Ryan, thanks a lot. And welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be talking to you all this morning. A quick background on myself, and then we'll move on to the fun stuff. My name is Chris Ippolite, and I am the president and founder of a company called iSolutions. We've been doing FileMaker custom database development in the Los Angeles area since 1997 when we were founded, and we're proud to be an FBA, or FileMaker Business Alliance Platinum member since the year 2000. And what that means is that we're a certified and vetted consulting group, or part of an elite group of consultants that FileMaker turns to for help with some of their most important customers. And some of the customers that we've worked with in our tenure, it can be seen here on this slide. And before I get to the demos, I wanted to share with you those very customers that I just showed you have had some things that are in common. What we encounter when we talk to these customers about why FileMaker was the best choice for their custom app sort of falls into some similar categories. First, we hear a lot from customers that they want to be able to share data in real time, and they want to be able to do that across multiple platforms and devices. And of course, the FileMaker platform allows them to not only create one custom app that can be shared on Mac and Windows desktops, but can also be extended out to devices on iOS. I'm going to show you some of those today. One of the big things that we hear a lot of is that our customers want to have control over their application and be able to customize it. A lot of off-the-shelf solutions that are popular in the entertainment industry don't allow for the users or the owners of the application to be able to make changes as their business rules evolve. And anybody in any matter of business or any industry knows that business rules can change even on a daily basis. Additionally, folks that turn to FileMaker appreciate the mobility option that the FileMaker platform extends when they want to be able to take their data with them on iPads or iPhones. And finally, FileMaker is very powerful with its ability to integrate with other technologies. So if FileMaker can't do it and another app can, FileMaker can connect to those technologies. Now, in our 18 years in Los Angeles, we've had the pleasure to work with dozens of different companies in the entertainment industry. And for today's demo, we're going to classify the demonstrations into these 5 different groups. Now, while this is by no means a complete list, we find that our customers work within the entertainment industries that fall into these categories, so I've prepared some quick demonstrations of FileMaker custom apps created for use within each of these that you see here. So I'm going to start first with pre-production. This is an area in entertainment which usually involves doing things like, this is before the creative process, so it might involve things like location scouting, managing permits, budget tracking, and even managing scripts themselves. And I've got a couple of demos specifically about budget tracking and script management that I'm going to share with you. The first one I'm going to show you is a custom FileMaker solution that was developed for a famous Hollywood actor here in Hollywood. He had previously been using an app that's called Weekend Read to be able to store scripts on his iPad so that he could read them, but he found that he wanted to be able to store metadata or customized data on these scripts. So we created this custom app in FileMaker, which is deployed on FileMaker Go, happens to be shared on FileMaker Server so that other individuals like his assistant can actually add scripts. And you'll see here that we're able to allow the users to scroll through all the different scripts that are stored on the device. And unlike some of the other applications used for storing the scripts, you see here that we can then drill down into one of the scripts and we can have all sorts of custom fields. In this case, things like the film format. And what this user wanted was the ability to be able to rate the scripts, determine whether or not they've read them, or put them on their hot list. We've also got a series of different fields that they can enter in, or their assistant can enter information in, all about this script. Another interesting thing that we did here is we allowed the FileMaker Go app to communicate with other apps on the device. So for example, over on the left-hand side of the screen, you see where we're storing the Twitter handle for the studio that developed the script. In this case, it's Disney Pixar. So what we've done with FileMaker native scripting is made it so that when a user hits the little Twitter button, it'll automatically open up the Twitter app and then load that Twitter handle. I'll show you another example. You see the writer down on the bottom. I click that IMDb button, and it automatically passes that data over to the IMDb app and then performs a search. All of that can be done natively within FileMaker scripting. Because FileMaker is a related database, we can do things like store multiple versions of a script. So here's the script. The user can simply click on the View button to be able to read it, and we're still inside the FileMaker experience. They can close it and add ratings if they want to. Additionally, we can store other types of files like images or other documents that might be associated with this film that might be of interest to the reader. And because it's a related database system, we can store other data, in this case, data about writers. So here's all the different writers that are attached to different scripts, and when you click on one of the writers, you can see on the right-hand side we're using an object called a web viewer that automatically loads the latest version of the IMDb page for that writer. So this was kind of a fun example of a FileMaker solution produced specifically for deployment on the iPad. Now I'm going to show you an example of another solution that was created for a television network here in Hollywood. And this television network needed a solution to replace a series of spreadsheets that they were using to manage the budgets for all the different shows that they carry on their network. So we created this solution, and what you're looking at here is a screen that was meant for director-level users so that they could get a top-line, sort of all the information that they need all in one shot right when they log into the system. So the system recognizes that they're a director. For the other users, they might log in and see a window that looks like this, which isolates just the shows that they have to do with, and then they can actually drill down into those shows to find out more information. In addition to just storing what the budgets are, we can actually track how that money is spent. So here we're linking over to another FileMaker solution that already existed that was for managing purchase orders. So you see we can link different FileMaker solutions together, and here you see we have a solution that allows us to be able to generate purchase orders, log invoices paid against those, add different line items, perform different administrative tasks, and even send copies of these to the individuals that are associated with the PO, in this case the vendor. So this solution also allows users a dashboard view using FileMaker's built-in charting tool that allows them a very high-level view of where all the money that is being spent is going and against what budgets. So next on the tour, I'd like to talk to you about some demonstrations that I put together that fall into the production category. And when we're talking about production, we're talking about actually going out and shooting film and going on location and actually producing the content itself. So we've built solutions for our customers over the years that manage things like dailies and approvals, or even studio management or on-location travel, and even asset management as well. I'm going to show you examples of those last three: studio management, on-location travel, and asset management. Some of these are some pretty fun ones. I'm going to start with the Travel Manager. This is a solution that we created for a live television show here in Hollywood, and they often take their show on the road, which is no small task because they have to move over 220 different individuals that are a member of their production crew and cast to different locations around the United States. They had previously been using one spreadsheet for each one of these trips, and instead we built a solution that consolidates together all the trips and all the history so that they don't have to set everything up from scratch every time. Here you see we've got a trip planned, and we've got all the hotels that we've got relationships with, and all the rooms available to us in those hotels, and then all the travelers that are part of the production that are doing the traveling. And we can store information either specific to this trip or information from previous trips that help us book all the travel information for this show that's going on location. Here you see we've got flight information and hotel information, ground transport, and then when all of the different work is done for booking the individual, we can send them an email via PDF right out of FileMaker of their itinerary. The next thing I'd like to show you is a solution that integrates some interesting web technologies. Here you're looking at a FileMaker solution that a Southern California-based recording studio uses to book time within their live action and audio recording studios. They wanted to have a calendar view, and unfortunately all the types of calendar applications that we're all familiar with, when you open up the event detail, it doesn't allow you to do things like book equipment and book individuals, things that are specific to this particular organization. So FileMaker's customization allowed them to build an event detail that pulled data from their existing FileMaker solution, but at the same time, we're using in the layout that you see in the background the ability to create a custom calendar experience. So the trick here is that we're using something that's called a web viewer, and we built in some web technologies that allow us to really extend FileMaker data and do some really neat things with it. Like you see here, the rollover effects and being able to click and see the detail screens again. All of that's done within a FileMaker web viewer. In this case, we're using some web technologies and FileMaker's very powerful FMP URL to be able to communicate from the web technologies back to FileMaker. So we're able to not only create calendar functionality natively within the solution, but do so in a customized fashion that fit exactly the way the user wants to look at their data. Now finally, I'm going to move back to another solution that we created for FileMaker Go on the iPad. This is a solution for a studio here in Hollywood to manage all of their props and various different assets that are stored within their warehouse. These props then move to different locations. Sometimes they're in transit, and they were having trouble managing all this information in real time just simply using the spreadsheet that they were using prior to this. So we built them a solution that gets deployed not only on their network, but it also has this neat FileMaker Go deployment option for the iPad. Now the interesting thing about it is their warehouse, and more frequently than just the warehouse, their on-location locations don't have good Wi-Fi or internet access at all. So one of the neat things about this solution is that we're able to build in a syncing piece. So before the user takes this thing with them, once they're still in the office where it's got good Wi-Fi, you see this little button here on the upper right-hand corner. The user just clicks that, and what it does is it connects to the FileMaker server and runs a series of syncing steps that we built with some native FileMaker functions that allow us to pull the most recent data down and upload whatever data that's been collected. Now the user can grab this and go onto a truck, go onto a location, or go out into the warehouse. So here you see we're storing a bunch of different assets. In this case, we're building a bunch of assets here and props for the zombie apocalypse movie. So you see that we've got a body, and we can use the FileMaker fields to store some of these attributes. In addition, we can also store non-data information like photos. So there's a photo of a zombie. And because this is on the iPad, we can even natively leverage the camera to be able to take new pictures if we want to. And one of the important parts about managing assets is where are these things? So if we search for this body, where is it right now? We can see here that it's currently on truck number 19. And if we click the Go To button, we can see everything else that's loaded on that truck. And if it's the truck driver that's actually using this application, when he gets to his destination, they can actually choose to move it from the pallet that's on the truck to the new location. And all of the different movements are stored within this historical log so that we can go back and see where this thing is, where it's been, and even where it's going in some cases. And when you're on FileMaker Go, you can use some native functions that you're used to on the desktop, like searching for data. That's a pretty important thing when you're looking for assets. And one of the neat things about this solution is that we leveraged the device and its camera to be able to do barcode scanning. So the users that have this application, this custom app, when they're out in the warehouse, can walk right up to a pallet that's got a QR code on it, hit the little barcode thing, and it invokes the calendar, allows them to scan the QR code, and it instantly finds that record within the custom app. So a lot of fun things going on here with the FileMaker app for managing assets in the warehouse and on location. So the next step in our tour is in the post-production part of where FileMaker custom apps are quite popular, frankly. Post-production generally has to do with the editing process, shot lists, and the all-important work assignment and check-in and check-out. I'm going to share with you an application that we created for an animation house here in Hollywood. And although this particular custom app is very extensive, I'm just going to focus on a couple parts of it. There are other apps throughout Hollywood that perform similar types of functions, but one of the frustrations that this client had is when, unlike the solutions that they were looking at or the solutions they've been using previously, if you look here, we drill down into a certain production, you'll notice that we have this, these naming conventions here. The way that they divide up elements within a television episode, in their case, in their vernacular, they say episodes, acts, and scenes, but that might be specific to only one production. So for example, if they go to another production, it might be show, episode, and sequence. So what we were able to do is build in the ability to configure a production to be able to use whatever terminology they want, both in phases, design types, dividers, and so on. And then also we're able to assign roles at a production level. So one user, like Danger Smith, might be production staff on this one production, but they might not be that same role on another. So once everything's set up, we have the system, like all the other custom apps that we create, identify who the user is when they log in. And in this case, if I'm a designer, I will recognize that I'm a designer, and not only that, but it will only isolate the productions that I'm working on, and specifically when a production is selected, just the assets that I'm working with. So you see here, if I click on the stick figure asset that I've been working on, I've got all the information and attributes that I need, including all the related version controlling. So we're leveraging FileMaker's related database feature to be able to actually link it to other versions of the same asset. And you'll notice here that we can manage things like assigning this. Managers can come in and assign this to certain designers, and we can do what's called checking in and checking out. So if I go to this last version here, I'm the designer and I'm going to check it out, and it locks it so that no one else can check it out, so we avoid any conflicts, and it shows visually that it's been checked out, and then gives me this application that I can download to the desktop and open up in another app. But when I'm done, then I can check it back in, automatically timestamps it, creates a new version that's related to this other family, and then allows me to take this asset and drag and drop it into this special type of a FileMaker field called the container field, which stores and even previews the asset. So now it's ready for approval, and when a manager logs in, they will automatically see this in their list of to-do items. This solution does all sorts of different things. I won't get into too much of the demonstration of what it does, but you'll notice here this particular organization is using the FileMaker custom app to do everything from casting to scheduling, script breakdowns, timing and post on voiceovers, all sorts of different aspects of the development process. So the next step on our journey through Hollywood and what FileMaker has done for various different customers, we're going to go into distribution. So this is the stage where you've created your film or your television program or whatever it is, and in some cases, if the studio hasn't done it themselves, a production company needs this film, let's say, to get picked up. So we've created custom apps throughout the years that do various different things, like do the rights management portion of it, which is all very important, related to licensing, and even film acquisition, or for the purposes of acquisition, even managing film festivals. I'm going to show you a solution that's a custom app built in FileMaker, and this particular solution has gotten more work in Hollywood than most actors and directors have. This has been around for several years and currently is in use by about 13 different studios all throughout Hollywood. And the neat thing is, it's a FileMaker custom app that every time it goes to a new studio, it gets more customization done to it. So there's 13 versions of the same thing, essentially doing the same tasks, but customized because the users have their own individual preferences. So this solution not only manages all the information about a film, as far as being able to make acquisition decisions, but it also manages other tertiary information that I'm going to share with you here. First, we can actually track the attachments. So attachments, for example, would be film cast or directors, writers, producers, and financiers. And because FileMaker is a related database, we can actually go into the attachments and look up one of those people and see that it links us over to the film. So fully relational capabilities built right in. A couple of neat things about this solution are that we're able to link certain films to other films that are stored within the custom app for the purposes of looking at comps. So we have a sort of an algorithm built in that finds similar films, looks at what they were acquired for, and allows the users to make strategic decisions based on related data within the system. This is another example of related data within FileMaker. One of the cool features of this particular application is this research tab that we have, where we are leveraging several different web viewers. These are native layout objects in FileMaker that allow us to take data from fields, in this case the name of the film, and actually do searches within some very popular sites throughout Hollywood like IMDb, Box Office Mojo, Rotten Tomatoes, and so on. And finally, because a lot of the folks in film acquisitions departments are the ones who are attending festivals and markets for the purposes of seeing some of these films, we've built a system in here that loads festivals and allows you to track screenings at each festival. So we can add a screening to a festival, or for existing screenings, we can invite other people on our team by simply hitting this button, invoking FileMaker's native ability to collect information and put it into an email, and we can send that email off, and in some of these iterations, we're even sending it with a .ics calendar attachment. Now, speaking of film festivals, I'd like to show you an example of a popular film festival, not located in Hollywood, but very important to the Hollywood process, that uses FileMaker to be able to handle some of their lodging. So not only do film festivals have to get important new films to their festival, but they also need to get those very important individuals to the festival. So here you can see they can store all the different lodging options that they've got in their location, and because FileMaker is a related database system, we can also store the guests. So we can look at some of the important invited guests, and for example, we have Mr. Big Shot. Now the nice thing about this solution is that it's a multi-user system, so that anytime any representative from Mr. Big Shot's people calls and gives a new update on his recommendations, that can be put right into the system so that none of that information gets lost, so that when they're making important decisions like assigning him lodging, none of those requests are missed. The other thing that's neat about this is we were able to build in the ability to assign lodging, but by clicking these buttons, it's actually taking out all the different options that won't fit the requests that Mr. Big Shot have. So we're only picking units that match his requests, and only picking beds that match his requests. And then here we have the ability to either comp him or charge him. And now we've created a related record and changed his status to done. And we can even send him a fact sheet, or in the case of actually charging Mr. Big Shot, we can send him an invoice. Now the final stage of the demonstrations that I'd like to share with you guys this morning is after a film has been made or a television show has been made, it's the distribution and the rights are all managed, and now it's time to actually get people to see these things. And that's where FileMaker can play an important role in the marketing process. We built solutions for customers to manage trademarks, their promotional campaigns, merchandising, and even movie premieres. I'm going to show you a couple of these here to finish off our demonstrations. The first one is a solution that we built for a company here in Hollywood that every time they do a film, because they're a studio, they're distributing the film and they own the film, so they're also managing the marketing aspects of it. So we replaced a series of different spreadsheets and created one multi-user FileMaker custom app that gives them a top-level view of all the contract statuses based on different color coding, and then all the different creative elements of each of these marketing campaigns. So if you look at some of them, you see that they've got, for example, social media tactics. It gives us all the different assets associated, and all these interactive checklists so that users can interact with the solution and see either when the legal aspects have been completed, the promotional aspects have been completed, and always going back to this top line and giving us sort of the review of where everything's at. And FileMaker has excellent reporting capabilities, so we were able to build in reports that look exactly like they requested. In this case, this is a status report of all the different campaigns and what their current status is. And you can see here we're able to give different details based on the different campaigns. And finally, I'd like to show you a solution that has been working harder in Hollywood probably than any other folks that have been working. It began its career helping seat very important guests in Hollywood at one of the world's most important award shows. I put important in air quotes there. But then it went on later to do what it's been doing recently, and that is it's in use by a very high-level studio here in Hollywood that uses it to seat for premieres. So instead of using a spreadsheet, you've got your guest list. We've built it into a FileMaker custom app. This is the screen that's got all the information about a guest. You pick an event and it shows you just the guests for that event. But the really neat thing about this solution is that we're able to actually seat these guests. So in a FileMaker layout, using something called a web viewer, we're integrating web technologies here where we built a facsimile of the Dolby Theater. So what you're seeing here is FileMaker data, and it happens to be represented graphically as seats with color coding on it. And as you hover over some of these seats, it's actually querying data from within the FileMaker custom app. And it also provides some functionality, not just visibility. Here we click on the pick list, and it queries the database to tell us all the guests that have yet to be seated in the orchestra. There's Mr. Boo Radley. And we can just click on Boo's name, drop him into the seat right there in the front row. And in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see where those seats have been added. And all this is happening in real time in a multi-user environment. So users can click on that, put them into another seat, all the while preventing any conflicts from two users trying to click the same seats. We can drop them back into the list to put them back into the pool for other seating options. So a fun solution here that's been working in Hollywood for the past 15 years. Now that sums up the demonstrations that we've been doing, but it's been really fun for me to show these things to you. But the one thing I want to point out is a lot of these have the same types of things in common. All of these customers wanted to be able to share their data, and in a lot of cases they moved out of either using spreadsheets or just file folders to be able to manage assets. And in every case, they wanted to customize it and really own the solution. So not only did they customize it to make it work for the people using it within their organization, but they continue to customize it to make it their own as the business rules change within their organization. And then, of course, they all appreciate the mobility. We looked at some of the solutions that are deployed on iPads, but a lot of times users are taking it with them. In the example of the film acquisitions database that high-level executives take as they go from studio to studio, they take their most important team members, and in the case of that solution, they determined that their FileMaker custom app was one of those team members. I'd like to, before we move into Q&A, just want to point out the address on the bottom of the screen. If you're interested in seeing extended details and some more screenshots and videos of the demonstrations that I've shared with you this morning, just plug hollywood.isolutions-inc.com into your browser when you have a moment, and you can enjoy more details on what you've seen here.
All right, thanks, Chris. Really great demo. A lot of fantastic information there. Again, if you haven't already, you can ask a question at the GoToWebinar control panel. Click on the question section, enter your question, and then click on send. In the meantime, to give some of you some time to enter question who haven't already, let's go ahead and talk about some next steps after viewing this webinar. So if you haven't already, you can download FileMaker Go for free off of the App Store. And if you do so, make sure that you also visit FileMaker's website and download the FileMaker 14 trials. You can get started building out some tasks, kind of like what you saw today. If you're ready to purchase some licensing, give us a call, 1-800-725-2747. We'd love to chat with you. We have a really fantastic volume licensing annual program right now where you can get FileMaker as low as $9 a month billed annually. And for additional demos, again, you can go to, or webinars, you can visit FileMaker's learning section, the webinars page, and again, for additional demos for Chris, go to hollywood.isolutions-inc.com. All right, we have a really great queue of questions here. Let's go ahead and get started. Chris, the first question, have you done a lot of integration with existing SQL databases in any of these examples?
In one of these examples, in the warehousing one, there is another system that we have to integrate with from a purchasing standpoint, and what we're able to leverage there is FileMaker's ESS, or external SQL sources capability. When a solution is hosted on FileMaker, you can load a driver and some other information onto that server that allows persistent connections to non-FileMaker data sources like SQL Server or Oracle or MySQL, for example.
Perfect. Can this solution be cloud-based?
So all of the solutions that you saw here are actually hosted on FileMaker Server. In I think a majority of the cases, now that I'm thinking through it, they're in servers that are actually stored within the IT departments at each studio. But there are a ton of different options out there that allow you to be able to host your FileMaker solution in the cloud in virtual server environments that allow you to access it from anywhere.
Can FileMaker be used to coordinate clips from Final Cut Pro?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Final Cut, along with Avid, they have different APIs that allow you to dump out data in the form of, traditionally it's XML data that can be dumped out of those systems, and it's very customary to be able to import that data into FileMaker in the form of shot lists, and then you can add additional metadata to it. That's a popular technique, and that involves being able to connect those two data sources together using their XML data exchange, or you can even set up systems that allow ODBC data sharing as well.
Perfect. All right, the next question. Is the syncing that you showed in your first demonstration a native feature in FileMaker?
Well, I'll be careful to say it's not native in that you can just say turn on syncing, but every one of the steps that we use to create that script are native to FileMaker. So no third-party plugins necessary or anything wacky like that. It's just FileMaker programming. And in that case, we're able to build in syncing pretty easily, and we do that quite a bit on FileMaker Go solutions.
Okay, and the last question we have time for, what kind of assets can FileMaker store in each record?
Well, the exciting thing about those container fields that I mentioned is that they can store any binary type file, and not only that, they can preview. A good gauge for that is anything that you can see, play, or listen to in QuickTime can actually be previewed inside of a container field. And then assets up to 4 gigabytes each can be stored within a container field, and that includes images or movie clips or .mp4s or Word documents or PDFs. The list on it, it's really just any binary file, and then anything that can be previewed in QuickTime can also be previewed in a container field.
Perfect. Well, on behalf of Chris and FileMaker, it was our absolute pleasure chatting with you guys today, and we definitely hope to see you on a webinar soon. Thanks.